With the right role in the Crucible, a glaive is very viable, and I don't know if you've been seeing what I've been seeing. Glaives are starting to insert themselves into loadouts again, and with how these glaives are in certain scenarios, and those scenarios come up every game, it feels like they have a 90% win rate, even when it shouldn't be. They got shelved for a little bit, except for the glaive mains out there, I see you, but they were vaulted for the most part because the glaives had it to where they were getting only 1 ammo per brick pickup. That's not good, that's an issue, because the glaives need 2 shots to down someone, so that's a good thing that needed to change. Every special weapon needs enough ammo to get a kill. They fixed that, and with a ton of choices to spend your special ammo on, some are turning to the glaive. There's various ways to run them, and I just started using the Warlock Prometheum Spurs with it. That's when you get a kill, it drops that super rift that's both healing and empowering. I can play around that rift, from that rift, have DR from the shield, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, and with damage buffs from the weapon and the rift, it can do things like 195 in one shot. Being healed, having that shield up, very strong. There's some Wings of Sacred Dawn gameplay, Hunter, some Titan. But when it comes to these glaives, I think what's keeping them in check is their consistency. They're very inconsistent. If that was fixed, I think you would see them a lot more. Because when they work, they're brutal. But there are times when you get a hit, you don't get any glaive energy. There are times when it looks like you miss, but you do get energy. There are times where you land a direct hit, like you see it happen, and it does 0 damage. Very inconsistent, and they did buff the projectile speed tied to the range stat. That's a big deal. And as a whole, the perks have very strong synergistic combinations. And when I have a glaive that has energy, and someone's approaching me, I see them, I feel very confident. The engagement's in my favor, and that is because of the DR, the damage resist. Now, there are 2 reasons for this video. Number 1, I want to reiterate just how strong they are. I'm going to talk about a couple counters. They are viable. If you want to, give them a shot. But the second reason, this is where the CoolGuy villain arc begins. The DR is too much. It's 70% in the Crucible. With something like Wings of Sacred Dawn, it goes to 80%, because you can start stacking resistance. Honestly, I'm just tired of damage resist in the Crucible. PvE, yes. PvE, good. PvP, bad. Because for Crucible, where do we draw the line? Is it tanking a full Hawkmoon mag? Is it tanking a super swipe? Is it tanking a literal rocket? It's a conversation we need to have, and as fun as glaives are, and with some of these things, looking back, think about stasis resist when it started, stag resist when it was meta, omni, whatever it is. I haven't seen one player that says, you know what, that's awesome, more of that. I've noticed that DR in PvP has never been received well, and truthfully, all it's really done is divide players. Sending nasty messages, people know that it's quote broken and they still run it, so there's a lot of nastiness going on. And then on the flip side, there's the players harassing Bungie, because it feels kind of broken. It seriously needs to be looked at and talked about. Like Omni, of course. Others too, like for Omni. If you're gonna keep DR, at least make it have a resilience check. And that goes for all the DR exotics and weapons. Like if a hand cannon does 70 to the head, make it to where it deals 65 when they have their resist up. It can still 3-tap for 195, but you have to make them resilience check. If not, it's gonna be 4. Like I was watching Frostbolt play Trials over the weekend with using some Xur weapons. He's using a rapid fire sniper. Multiple Omni Hunters were taking the headshots. Like that's not good. So when it comes to glaives, that's a special situation. Like I can see Omni, Stasis Resist, Stag, getting some tweaks, making them more in line. And they've done that for most of them, like Omni's still on the table, but with glaives, DR is what makes the engine run. That's what they play off of. Like I don't want them to completely destroy it, but just those small 3 examples right there that I got footage of in a day, of tanking a rocket, super, whatever it is, like where's the line gonna be drawn? And if that line destroys them, that's also not good. Just a weird situation. And it's even weirder because they got great buffs as far as the shield draining slower. So maybe in the Crucible, they could speed that drain up a little bit. So that needed to be talked about. The villain arc is over. But you've been seeing 2 main things when it comes to the glaive gameplay. The Enigma with Impulse for the fast projectile and Unstoppable Force. Probably the best PvP perk in each slot when it comes to combinations. You shield damage, get Unstoppable Force, it deals 170, and you can stack on damage as you saw like with an Empowering Rift to make it deal 195. There's also some enhanced surrounded Lubre gameplay. If 3 enemies are 8 meters in front of me, it will one-shot for over 200 damage. Like I'm going like next to Bubbles waiting for him to come out and just one-shotting him. So surrounded, enhanced, it can work. I played some games, and going against a glaive can be pretty difficult. As you've been seeing from the gameplay, in some situations, even when you do everything right, you just can't come out on top. So if you do see them, if they become prevalent, like I've seen triple Void Titans with glaives run some trials matches all the way to Lighthouse, because when that whole kit gets going with the glaive, it's tough. So first and simple, what have I said for Void 3.0? What have I said for Solar 3.0? What shuts down the nonsense in Destiny 2? That's right, Shadebinder. And in this case, stasis in general. Freeze them. If you see 3 glaives and trials on the other team, all 3 of you need to go to stasis, because it goes right through the DR shield. Doesn't care. There's things like Divinity. There's things like Wither Horde for direct impacts. It can be done, but you do have to hard counter glaives. There's no in between. And if push comes to shove, if you need to play your life, if you don't have any of those things, you need to just walk away and try to get them in a primary duel, because the DR is too much. The only way is to hard counter it. No in between. And as I'm closing here, the truth is I do enjoy glaives. They're really fun to play with. And if you haven't used them in a while, give them a shot. But on the other side, Villain Art Cool Guy, I think that the Crucible will just flat out be better with little DR. Little percentages. I've seen over the years the complaints, the nasty messages. It's never been a good thing for the Crucible. Not just the gunplay, not just the sandbox. It's more so the division between the players. The division between the players and Bungie. That's the worst part. And there's a version of the Destiny sandbox out there for the Crucible that's really fun, that does rely on gunplay, and I hope that we get there. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button, and if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about glaives down below. What do you think about them? What do you think about the DR? And if you pulled them back out, which ones are you using? Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am Cool Guy.